mother says he was a normal, happy boy until he became obsessed with black metal music.
Rock and roll!
Sounds like Christian Rick.
Heavy metal music. Groups promote satanic worship.
They're anti-peace and anti-life.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Metal Face Podcast, the podcast where we discuss 3 metal albums each week. This is the penultimate episode of Season 1, and this week we'll be covering Linkin Park with their album Hybrid Theory, Ghost with their album Meliora, and Rammstein with their album Rammstein.
Yeah.
That's an easy one.
My name is Ben, and joining me as always, I have Tom. Tom, say hello.
How you doing, Ben?
I'm not too bad. Also joining us, we have Josh. Josh, how you doing?
I'm good, Ben. Thank you very much.
I'm glad to hear it, Josh. So,
I'm glad too.
this is our last set of albums for Season 1, right?
It is, yeah. What the hell?
What a triplet.
How did this go so fast?
Been a roller coaster.
It has been a roller coaster.
From the depths of Necrofilth to the soaring heights of XDO.
I still remember the XTO episode fondly, actually. That was a good episode.
I thought you were just going to say that you still remember it. A couple of months ago.
The nation of Norway seems to agree, so...
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
That was very funny, actually, wasn't it? Like, 25th most popular in Norway or some shit?
Yeah, big shout out
like,
to the nation of
on that
Norway.
one episode for like a day?
Cheers, Norway. Like, big up to you guys.
I wonder how they calculate that sort of thing. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just we got like 100% increase by one person listening to it. Like, wow, these guys are doing well.
I don't want to believe this.
Or we've actually just got a good podcast.
No. It must be something else.
I mean, we know that isn't true, so...
I sometimes feel like maybe we quite often trash the music that we like. I don't know why we do that so much.
And the scene that we're a part of, you know.
Yeah.
We don't trash it that much, do we?
We might later.
Ominous.
So, Tom, what have you been up to this week? I feel like you've been doing something exciting, right?
I have done something so incredibly exciting that it's hard to put into words.
Something so weird and unheard of.
Yesterday, I left my house.
What?
Whoa. Wait, slow down.
Yeah, not for
Supplies.
Yeah.
Scavenging in the post-apocalypse.
I went to the pub.
Whoa.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I
God.
left the house and I went to the pub, and
Pub.
yeah, it was really good actually. Like it
I
felt
remember this word.
the pube.
El Pub.
I went down to a little pub in Isle of Dogs. I can't remember what it was called. It's a nice little place though. But yeah, it's just great to be somewhere different, and it really got me thinking about all the other different places that I've been to in the past and that I'd like to go to in the future.
I love this idea of you being in the pub and taking a sip of beer and being like, there's a whole world out here.
That is a bit how I felt, to be honest, of like that reawakening of possibility. It's a great feeling. And it really got me thinking about, where I'd like to kind of travel to in the future.
So,
Sure.
unfortunately, on that note, we also got some bad news to go alongside that this morning.
We did, yeah.
Just,
Got to temper these things.
just so we didn't get too excited, Mystic Festival in Poland, where me and Tom were going to go, has been cancelled.
Well, it's been postponed until next year, so
Yeah.
it wasn't a total waste of money. But yeah, it's still a fucking bummer though.
That's a
isn't it?
pain, yeah.
I mean, I think we should just go away somewhere anyway at the end of this
Hell
year.
yeah.
Metal Face road trip to Belarus.
Yeah, exactly. Somewhere like that. That'd be fucking cool, man.
Maybe not
I
there,
think-
because they've got like a horrible dictator at the moment.
Yeah, I'm really keen to go somewhere at the end of the summer, maybe start of the winter kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Go to somewhere nice and cheap in Eastern Europe where the pints are like 50p.
Hell yeah.
Just go and get chatting to some randomers. Like that time we got chatting to those Norwegian sailors in
Yeah.
in Dansk. Yeah.
Yeah, were they
That
actually
was fucking
sailors or
funny.
was it just a group of men?
I think it was just a guy in like a big turtleneck, and we were like a sailor.
So, they didn't say they were sailors or anything. They just, one of them wore a turtleneck.
That was all we needed.
Was it like at least like a white one with like an anchor on it?
It was very heavy spun wool. And he smelled of the sea. Although, I think, incidentally, they might have been the people that are listening to our podcast at the moment.
If you were a Norwegian sailor who was in Dansk sometime a couple of years ago, maybe it was you.
Yeah.
Get in touch.
Maybe it was.
We miss you.
So what about you, Josh? Any travel plans for the coming future? Maybe 2022, maybe 21?
Well, I have been learning Spanish as part of my PhD study, so I'd like to capitalise on that
See.
a bit and travel to España.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because we've actually been to see some metal in Spain, haven't we? In
Yes, we
Barcelona.
have.
A piece of iron ore.
Yes, it was a really fantastic piece of malachite.
Yeah, that was a fantastic trip to Barcelona.
Absolutely.
To see Rammstein.
And I'd really like to go there again and be able to actually like attempt a conversation with someone.
Well, you weren't
Yeah,
satisfied
definitely.
by talking to those mad Australians doing cocaine in our hostel room.
Unbelievably,
They weren't
no.
enough for you.
I've
That was quite the cultural exchange, wasn't it? When they called you a racist because you wouldn't do coke with them.
That is pretty racist, man.
so
That's part of that culture.
well, they call me countryist because I didn't want to
You're
hang
right.
out with them because they're Australian, whereas I didn't want to hang out with them because it was 7 a.m. and they were doing lines in the hostel.
Oh, mate, yeah. Fucking
Yeah.
hell, those guys. One of them pulled open the curtain of my bed to show me a video of him having sex with a girl, and I was like, that's great, mate. It's like 7 a.m. I'm trying to get some sleep. I only went to bed at 3. Fucking hell.
Oh no, but so when he did that, I heard you kind of be like, I could tell you were very obviously trying to get rid of him, and I kind of like I put like 2 and 2 together, and I was like, oh no, I think I know what this is, and then I heard him step away from your bed and start walking towards mine because I was one bed behind you, Tom. I was like,
The
no.
didgeridoo sounds grew louder.
And then my curtain is pulled back, and I see the same. It's like, cool.
Oh, God damn.
What a creep, can we just say as well? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not all right.
There was a lot
Oh,
of stuff
God.
they were doing which was not alright, let's be honest. So,
But I mean, as much as that was incredibly annoying and just weird, it has made for quite a good story.
Got a funny
And
story.
I'm looking forward to having more and more of these kinds of stories to tell in the future about fucking weird people that you run into who maybe you don't even like all the time, but it's just funny, isn't it?
It's always part of the experience.
yeah. How often do you think you've been the weird person someone met?
Oh, a couple of
Think about
times.
that?
I definitely have been.
There's like the Polish Metal Face podcast where there's some of those people that we met just saying how fucking weird those English guys were who came to see Behemoth.
These British guys came over and they kept asking me throughout the entire show about all the politics of Poland.
Asked me to translate the lyrics. Yeah.
I remember standing outside that gig. Just wearing I had my shirt off and I was wearing that sheepskin coat. This guy came over and was like, "Oh, aren't you cold?" And I was like, "No, I'm English." In the most dickhead English way you can imagine. And then I realised, like, I was talking to a Polish person. It's much colder in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Quite famously, in fact.
No, I'm English. It's like, quite temperate and rainy here.
Yeah, no Gulf Stream all the way in the continent.
Exactly.
Did he choose to strike up a conversation with you, or did he quickly make an exit? I imagine it was the latter.
I can't really remember. Yeah, it was my cognizance was tapering off at that point. To be honest, after the shots of bison grass vodka that I kept having during Behemoth, that was good though.
Oh man, yeah, I definitely want to go somewhere and see a band again.
Yeah.
I'm tempering my expectations that it might be later next year when we can actually go
Yeah.
abroad and see some big bands, like given
Yeah.
the fate of Mystic Fest being postponed.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, that's always been fun.
It's just a really good way to travel, isn't it? Because you
Oh,
can
yeah.
go to somewhere fairly obscure. Like, I never would have gone on holiday to Gdansk, and there's not enough to see there to stay for more than like 3 or 4 days.
They had that big wheel that people used to walk in. That was cool.
Oh, that was so cool,
See?
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, not 4 days worth of viewing, but still quite cool.
If you say so. Each
Yeah,
to their
speak for
own.
yourself. In the Czech Republic, they've got these special lifts, the Paternoster ones, which there's like constant movement, right? So you
Oh,
can
yeah.
like jump off. And apparently, one of those got posted on social media and became such a tourist attraction. They had to put up signs in like different public buildings in Prague where they had those types of lifts to like tell people to not come because it was like one of them was in like the main city hall, which is like full of
Oh,
like
right,
civil
yeah.
servants and stuff.
Yeah.
They have to like do their jobs, and those people was like, "Oh, let me take a photo on the funny lift."
So should we not do that? Is that what you're saying? Because
I'm
it
not sure
sounds
it's-
like summer plans.
I know.
I would love to go back to Prague. We met some interesting characters in that metal bar in Prague, didn't we, Josh?
Oh, that was one of the best trips I've taken. Honestly, that was great. Oh yeah.
Well, Josh, we've talked about going to India before, haven't we?
Ooh.
Yes,
Do you have a friend over there?
Yeah, so one of my best friends, he lives in London,
good chap.
but absolutely, he lives in London, but he's from New Delhi. And a few years ago, we went. Me and another friend went over with him, and he gave us a tour around, and it was
Ooh, yeah.
a load of fun. It's really good when you have like someone who like knows kind of local area and can help you navigate around, especially when it's like you stick out quite strongly in New Delhi. Without trying to sound odd, like you are like
for
a visible
sure, yeah.
minority, and like there are certain things that go along with that. So it's like it can be good to have. It's really good to have someone who knows what's going on, and it's also really good to have someone who knows how to move around, like how to get around the city and stuff. Like which metro stations to go to and things. Like
Absolutely.
it is as simple as that. And like honestly, I like if you're a vegetarian, best food in the world is in India. I think I ate so well.
It's a country with the highest concentration of vegetarians, isn't it?
I think 1/3 of the country are vegetarian.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about doing essentially like a sort of food journey around the south of India, right?
Yeah, it was kind of I think it was
yeah.
starting in Mumbai and kind of going around the tip. And yeah, I think I have to book like quite a lot of time, save up my cash and just accept that
Yeah.
I'm going to about double in size. I think those are all definitely worth it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. No, but honestly, highly recommend it as a destination. So
For sure. Well, lots to look forward to, I think.
absolutely. What Tom, I expect you haven't been looking forward to is the first album of this week, Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. All right, so Linkin Park are a American rock band. This is probably quite a controversial pick already because of that. Are they rock? Are they metal? It's one of these difficult ones to pick, but they are definitely very influential in the new metal world. They're from California in the United States, and they formed in 1996. Hybrid Theory is their first studio album, released in 2000. And they released a number more after that until, unfortunately, their lead singer, Chester Bennington, died from suicide in 2017, leading to a hiatus for a couple of years, with the band now being active again since 2020.
Right.
I'm kind of looking towards writing some new stuff, I believe. This album was really big for me when I was like 14, because it's if you're an angsty teenager, this is your vibe, isn't it?
It's perfect.
You know, the music is obviously much more than just that. I think that this is like kind of a seminal album for me in my own music taste, because this kind of introduced me to metalcore, introduced me to like hard rock, heavy rock music. Not metalcore, sorry, new metal. And also it's been very influential to the music coming after it, especially when you have like newer kind of new metal revival bands, and you look at kind of the emo bands and stuff that kind of dominated in the early 2000s. And this really comes at a time when all that's kind of kicking off. And if you compare it to new metal albums that came out just a few years before, it sounds very different. So, despite all the good things I can say about it, this album is also quite controversial in the metal world. Lots of people really like Linkin Park. Lots of people really don't like Linkin Park. So I'm interested to hear what you guys think. Tom, I've been kind of teasing you a bit about this album, so I want to hear what you hear what you think.
Well, okay. I'm a big believer in the idea, don't knock it till you've tried it.
Now I've tried it, so...
I'm also a big believer in the idea, even if you have tried it, maybe try again, because maybe you were missing something, you know? And, right, I gotta say, in the case of Linkin Park and this album, I actually quite enjoyed it.
Oh my god.
Oh, you tease!
I was not expecting to, but, like, their songs have real movement and energy, and they're all quite short as well. Like, the longest song on the album is 3 minutes 45 seconds, which means the whole thing goes at like quite a pace all the way through. They're kind of rappy sort of bits, like they're not really my bag, but I can still see the merit in them. But the transition into like the chorus, there's some really punchy choruses in this.
Absolutely.
That, like, really hits every time. So yeah, I actually liked it a lot more than I expected. I think I just had a perception of it I remember being in school and people liking it, and they were like, "Oh, you like stuff like Linkin Park, do you?" And I kind of obviously heard a bit of it and was like, "No, I like stuff like Slayer." Like, what the fuck are you talking about, you know?
I feel bad now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he got us.
Please accept my sincere apologies.
Yeah,
but no, I'm glad you liked it. I know what you mean about the choruses. They do really drive it forward. Yeah, I think it's interesting how they fuse the elements together.
This segment is definitely going to go differently than I expected then.
Absolutely.
I was expecting to have to join forces with Josh to defend this, because I also loved this. I've not listened to Linkin Park before, like, apart from obviously hits. Everyone's heard the hits.
Yeah.
It just, same as Tom, wasn't really my thing when it was popular, and then it kind of felt like it passed me by.
Yeah. For sure.
And it's still not really like my taste these days, but God, it's just so well done, and it's just like the perfect like slice of early 2000s culture. It's a masterpiece. Like, it just is.
It's a real time capsule, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, none of it overstays its welcome, which I think made it so much more satisfying to listen to. In that, like, you kind of get introduced to these ideas, and you're given them like consistently and concisely, and then it kind of moves on to something new, and you kind of interested in still listening, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of, Josh, you touched on some of the influences in the intro, sort of early new metal, rap, things like that. There's a lot of different elements here, and I think they've fused them really, really well. And nothing, like you say, nothing overstays its welcome. I think a big part of what has made it age so well for me is that it feels like they really wear their emotion on the sleeve, and they aren't trying to present themselves as something that they're not. It's really raw, really emotional, and I think some other bands have tried to be a bit too scary, and that's not aged well. It's not come off well in time.
That is a good point.
They're just sort of like, we're going to sing, it's going to be emotional, and we're going to just own that, and it works really, really well.
Yeah, it's very much like, it feels quite genuine, even though like it's not necessarily like, I guess you might not call it, it's not like cool, it's not putting across like a big, particularly exciting image in a lot of places, but it is, the feelings of the guys that they're writing, and you can really tell that.
Yeah, but I think the image that they are putting across is unique in that the music's, and this might not be the right word, but it's relatively clean. There's not a lot of like distortion and like crazy stuff going on. It's I feel like quite.
You can hear it all the way down.
It's quite like instrumentally pure, and same as the vocals. They haven't like put some crazy like distortion on the vocals to create this crazy badass feel. They're just sort of like playing their music and singing their lyrics, and they're doing a really good job of it.
On the lyrics and the kind of whole thematics of it, I feel like at a certain point in time, maybe when I was like sort of 12, 13 kind of thing, I probably would have really like vibed with this kind of emotionally. I think it does appeal definitely to sort of like, you know, angsty teens and like people who are kind of going through like that slightly tough sort of part of your like youth, you know?
Yeah.
It is quite like a sort of sad album in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like the songs are essentially unhappy, you know? They're not talking about like fun things, they're talking about stuff that kind of sucks, you know?
Yeah.
Sure.
And I sort of, it definitely was something that kept me from giving it a chance in the past, because I go to different kinds of music for that sort of thing, essentially.
Yeah.
Metal. But the thing is, like, you know, given the kind of, I suppose, the context of the album after the singer's suicide, it now feels sort of unbelievably poignant to listen back to it, and like he's not just sort of being like whiny sort of teen kind of thing. It sounds like it's from a genuine place, and you kind of think like, ah, shit, poor guy.
Yeah, it definitely adds
For sure.
an unfortunate, like, sad note to re-listening to it. Yeah.
Yeah, the lyrics are, I think the lyrics are the weakest part of the album, to be honest, you know. Like, there's quite a few times when it's like a little bit cringe, a little bit on the nose, and I felt like they could have maybe dressed up some of the subject matter in a slightly more interesting way. There's not much like imagery to them, but I mean, this is sort of picking holes a little bit because it's not their style. They want it to be straight up, right? And it clearly had a great relatability because I remember how into this album people were, and people still are.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't really pay much attention to the lyrics because that's kind of what I expected I would find.
Yeah.
Obviously, on some songs with a clean singing, like, you can pick them out. And I just kind of let myself get into that for this week.
Like, the start of By Myself is pretty cringe, where it's talking about, like, there's someone behind me. I don't know if I should turn around. Yeah. I don't want to rinse them too much, but, you know.
No, I get what you mean, though. Like, there's always a fine line when you're kind of, like you say, wearing your emotions on your sleeve, where it's like, if you overdo it, it can come across, like, not very good.
Yeah.
But if you underdo it, it comes across as, you know, ingenuine. So it's definitely a hard balance to strike, and I think their later music does a much better job of it. I think like Meteora, for example, is much kind of, it feels more, you know, metaphorical in some ways. I don't know if it is, or that's just my kind of interpretation of it. But yeah, no, and it's interesting also, I think, in this album, how the lyrics, whilst they're very strongly kind of emotionally themed, when they write them, it still kind of seems to fit with the very wide range of different kind of musical things that they're going on. They've got like turntables and like samples and stuff, and it's all like working together really well.
I was interested by how well the rap kind of works in it, actually. Which is kind of, I mean, at times it's definitely not, like, I don't kind of vibe with it too much. But, you know, I know a few people who have been quite into rap music and write their own stuff and things. Quite often, my perception of it is, anyway, that they are aiming to write about stuff that is really genuine and actually about their lives. And, you know, this guy was quite often talking about like the experience of like being poor and growing up poor and stuff. And I think I tend to like it's difficult to know what to make of rap sometimes because of how popular some of it is and how kind of underground other parts of it is. It's
an interesting genre, isn't it? Because like, without trying to get too off topic, it's like, you know, you don't need any instruments or any particular like large amounts of money to like set up like a like, you know, to like record from like a cheap microphone. But at the same time, it's one of the most lucrative genres, isn't it? So
yeah, definitely. There's a lot of kind of mythos around it, and like I think I get why people like it, definitely. But I think it's just like it's not in my kind of world.
Absolutely, it's essentially it's the opposite of something like technical death metal, where you need to spend like, you know, 20 grand on instruments, and there's less economic potential.
Yeah. And to be honest, I in some ways am more drawn to the ethos of just like kind of anyone can do it.
It's kind of like the DIY punk thing, isn't it? In a way.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
There was the whole thing about like lack of access to like turntables and stuff in LA in like the 80s, which is why after the LA riots and a bunch of like DJ equipment got stolen, people were able to make their own music.
Particularly, it was the 1970s New York blackout, right?
Yeah. So
the whole of like blackouts just happened a lot in the past, and the whole of New York blacked out all at once. And there was all this kind of crime and looting, and all these kids, particularly from like the Bronx and sort of slightly less fortunate areas, went and basically sort of got hold of the music equipment that they needed to make this kind of music. And then, so you suddenly, like, if you give people without means the access to make music, like, it can birth, like, a genre like hip-hop and rap, which is obviously super sort of successful.
It's an area that I really want to know more about, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something that's kind of quite cool, and I think this will come up again probably in the next couple of bands as well, is that if you're into metal and you listen to something like rap metal, it can kind of give you a window into another genre a little bit.
Yeah.
Where, like, say you like rap and you listen to Linkin Park, you then might get into metal. It's quite cool to have stuff that bridges the gap and sort of translates something that's quite different into something you can sort of understand a bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure, it's an interesting gateway like that, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
I wonder how it goes. Like, do people listen to symphonic metal and then get into like Bach or Vivaldi?
Do they listen to Ex Dio and then get into battling?
It's
Well,
like
to be fair,
join the Legion.
yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of good tracks on here, actually. Like, a song like Place for My Head, I wasn't expecting to have such a sort of catchy, like, riff.
Yeah.
I felt like maybe my perception of it was probably that the guitars were going to be, like, basically what I thought it was going to be was essentially pop music with, like, some rapping in it that they've called metal just because they used, like, heavy guitars to kind of augment some of the, like, choruses and stuff. And I was sort of like, right, well, anyone can write a metal song if all you need to do is like down tune a guitar sort of thing. But this is like this is me being a dickhead basically, because actually there's a lot of really interesting composition in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of quite heavy guitar on it as well. I
It
remember
is,
By
yeah,
Myself stuck out to me as having quite a heavy riff on it.
And even like songs that seem to start quite sort of light, they still fucking deliver on like really strong. And like, I mean, Chester Bennington's voice is really fucking good.
Yeah,
He's
it
got a
helps
really
that he
strong
can-
range.
It helps that he can definitely sing.
Yeah.
I think this album and this band more generally, but this album in particular, it's very vocal led, isn't it? Like I think the instrumentals are great and they work together really well, but it's really, Chester and Mike are the star of the show. I feel stars of the show rather.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things that we've mentioned quite a few times during this first season is tracks kind of blurring together over like an entire album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did find that happened a little bit the first time I listened to this album, but the more times I've gone through it, the more I've started to really recognize each individual track.
Yeah.
And I think if I gave it a few more listens through, I'd probably be able to name all of them.
Yeah, like this was one of the only albums that we've kind of looked at where I was really sort of writing down notes like per song. You know what I mean? You take something like Ulcerate, you're not going to do that at all, right?
No,
but like,
kind of hard to.
yeah, for sure. But like, this was there was a lot of different ideas in there, and there was so many times where I was like, well, I better make a note of what song this is.
Yeah.
Because it's just like some really cool like bridge or like a chorus or whatever.
For real, yeah, there's definitely like loads of highlights in this album. It almost feels like you could put together like a medley of all the really strong highlights and have that would be really strong by itself. Which, interestingly enough, they followed this up with an album of remixes and then also an album of mashups where they mashed up their songs with, I think it was like Jay-Z's music.
Oh, right. Oh,
yeah,
that's
it's really
interesting,
cool
yeah.
as well. So,
I have a question, Josh, that you might know the answer to.
Oh, yeah?
Is hybrid theory, is the hybrid referring to the blend of genres?
I have no idea. Sorry.
Good, great.
And on that note,
we should talk about some favourite songs.
So for my favourite tracks in the album, I would say the lesser known ones that I was like really positively surprised by were the best.
Yeah.
I loved One
Yeah.
Step Closer and By Myself. I don't think they're more popular songs on the album, but Paper Cut and In the End are deservedly legendary. They deserve the reputation that they get and the amount of plays that they get.
yeah,
They're damn good.
Paper Cut is just like, I haven't even talked about it, but it's just such a good song. Like,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, it does basically everything right. Like, it's hard to get a better 3 minutes of music.
As soon as I pressed play on that track, I immediately got such a massive hit of nostalgia, and I was like,
Oh, really?
I never even listened to this album intentionally in like the 2000s, but I was like straight back there. Like,
Sure, yeah.
yeah.
Because I listened to all 3 albums in one go. I cycled into central London and back. And so I had about sort of 3 hours or 2.5 hours or whatever it was to listen to all 3. And like, when it got to this one, like the first kind of the intro, it starts with that kind of quiet sort of hip hop sort of drum beat. I was like, fucking hell, here we go. By the end of the song, I was like, was that actually quite good? That was actually quite good. And I was like, well, they were not going to do it again. And like, yeah, consistently all the way through, like I felt like I had the patience for it. And I do think that it is helped by the fact that the songs are quite short.
Oh, for
Like,
sure, yeah.
If every song on this was like 5 or 6 minutes, I don't think I'd be necessarily that keen on it.
Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with you as well.
Yeah,
to be honest.
absolutely. Even as somebody who really likes this music, 6 minutes of Runaway, I would struggle with.
But it is a real crucial element in like, writing music and stuff. Like, do you want a long sort of transcendent black metal song, or do you want like a sort of minute-long grindcore song that's just like fun, It's like the length does make a difference.
Length is
Absolutely.
important.
There are bands that will remain nameless, Metallica, that take what essentially is a 4-minute song and spin it out for like twice the runtime.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad they didn't do that.
Josh, I want to know 2 things. I want to know your favourite tracks, but I also want to know, coming back to this, how did that feel? Was it as good as you remember?
Yeah, so to start with the first question, my favorite tracks were definitely Paper Cut, In the End, and Runaway.
Yeah.
I think they're all just like the perfect balance of like the different elements together to make like like 3 really cohesive, strong songs that are also like catchy. Coming back to it, like when I was a teenager, I loved this. I still enjoyed it a lot, but I think when I was a teenager, or when I was younger, or just not now even, the lyrics I was like really into them.
Yeah.
And now I'm a bit like, oh, that's a bit much. So I think I'm not in the right place for it, you know?
Yeah.
That
happens.
That's a fair assessment.
I think that happens to everybody's like early favorites, doesn't it?
I did really enjoy the nostalgia trip because I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Did you guys follow the like anime music video trend on YouTube in like 2010?
No.
So like for context, Tom, basically if you want to listen to any music that was of this kind of genre you put into YouTube, you get like a bunch of anime from like a series and kind of cut together to like set to the music. So you'd have like, it'd be like Linkin Park.
Exactly what I was expecting.
In the end, Naruto AMV.
God, like, the early internet and like early YouTube was so fucking weird, wasn't it? It was just no one knew what to do with it. It was just so confusing, such a weird place.
I went on YouTube the other day and I had like a notification. I clicked on it and it was a comment that I'd left on a video 10 years ago, and the reply to it just said yeah.
Nice.
Totally agree with you.
I messaged back saying thanks, I've waited 10 years for that. And the guy was like, yeah, no problem.
What a hero. So, Tom, you've been converted to Hybrid Theory. What were your favourite tracks?
But it might be a strong
He doesn't want to commit too much.
I don't want to commit too much.
You don't want to lose your metal street cred.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, no, there are a lot of really interesting songs in this album, actually. I think a song like Cure for the Itch was quite a cool one. Not a metal song at all, but like slightly atmospheric, sort of hip-hoppy kind of beat that was pretty nice. And then, I think their hits like One Step Closer, In the End, Crawling, they're all pretty strong. But yeah, I think A Place in My Head was one that stood out, and Paper Cut as well was really nice opener for the album.
For sure.
You're naming a lot of the album there, Tom.
I know, yeah. Genuinely, I was really impressed with it, and I think I mean, maybe their later stuff isn't my vibe or something, but like, I tell you what it is.
You really want to defend these 2 points of street cred, don't you?
Yeah. I'll tell you what it is. It's like, this happened a few times. I've gone to a metal club night and been really excited to go and hear some fucking metal and sing along to like, Heaviest Metal of the Universe and like Angel of Death and fucking like Manowar and Dio and things, and then the whole night is stuff like Linkin Park and like Stone Sour and things, and it's just like it's not what I kind of go there for. And I realise that like this is all still metal, but sometimes the genre is so diverse that when you go to a club night, you still don't hear any music you're not that into.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and I think Linkin Park has always fallen in that kind of realm for me. But taken in isolation, just like as an album, yeah, it's good. I liked it.
Cool.
Now let's end the segment before you can take it back. So, my choice for this week is Ghost's album, Meliora. Meloria? Meloria.
Meliora?
Meliora. Okay, so how the hell do I introduce Ghost? So
you've seen Scooby-Doo, right?
Yeah. So Ghost are without a doubt one of the spookiest things to appear in the metal scene in quite some time.
You scary skeleton.
Yeah, we're getting in the right headspace.
That's exactly their vibe.
That might be an early Ghost track.
The Ghost demo tape has finally been released.
So, emerging from Sweden in 2006, they take a huge variety of influences, and they're very hard to fit into any known genre.
Yeah.
There's elements of metal, rock, pop, disco, and it's all sort of wrapped up in a loving admiration for a kind of father figure view of Satan.
Yeah, it's sort of like if Christian worship music was about Satan.
And so, while it's hard to fit Ghost into a genre, they have proven to be wildly popular, much to the chagrin of heavy metal purists who insist it's just not metal. The band have produced 4 full-length studio albums, all under the guidance and direction of the band's founder and frontman Tobias Forge, or should I say Cardinal Copia, as he's now known.
Naughty boy. Oh, is that what he is now?
Yeah.
Not Papa, what's his face?
No longer Papa Emeritus. There's a whole running storyline within Ghost where the lead singer...
saxophones and nuns and all sorts.
That's Papa Nihil, plays saxophone.
Okay.
He's the 7th member of the band, alongside the, I think there are 5 ghouls, or maybe 4, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah,
There's a whole thing
the
going on.
schools.
So today we're discussing their 2016 deluxe edition of Meliora, originally released in 2015, but the 2016 one has some pretty important tracks on it, so we're going to do the deluxe version.
Their most popular song.
Yeah.
Which they somehow didn't put on the album.
I guess not. So let's kick this off. I'll start with you, Tom. What do you think of Ghost?
Mate, Ghost, fucking hell. This was like... I for a long time I had the same sort of opinion that I had about Linkin Park, actually, where I was like,
Really?
alright, I was like, yeah, it's okay, but it's not really metal, it's kind of, this is sort of indie pop music, you know?
You're not wrong, really.
Yeah. And then one day, but I'd come back to them a few times, sort of trying to figure out the vibe, because people whose music tastes I sort of greatly admired and agreed with were into this band.
Oh, so me, yeah?
I think you'll remember, Ben, it was actually me that got you into Ghost, right?
I can't remember.
In my third year of uni, around April 2017.
Oh, okay, yeah, you got the date written down.
Yeah, I do. I know exactly what it was.
On
Yeah.
the 4th of April, 2017, at 3:45 in the afternoon.
It was like, do you remember when there was that thing of that dress? And it was like, is this dress black or is it like white? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was like that. One day I put it on and I was like, oh my god, this is really, really good. And I suddenly became obsessed with them and like listened to like all their stuff and got into all their hits, of which there are an unbelievable amount. And then yeah, it was literally just like flipping a coin. I suddenly was like, oh shit, I like Ghost now.
Yeah.
It's quite a weird thing, and I've noticed a lot of people are like that with Ghost. I
That's
think
exactly the
it
experience I had. That genuinely is.
might be a spirit in the music that just comes out and gets you.
But it's very lazy and only does it like 1 in 10 times, apparently.
1 in 10 metalheads. So yeah, no, I like Ghost. I find them a hard band to like put under much scrutiny.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm definitely always up for defending them in front of like sort of elitist metalheads. But they are a bit of a difficult band to put under too much of a close lens sometimes.
I like that about it though, because I think I don't want to say people take metal too seriously, because I don't think that's true. I think you can take it seriously if you want
seriously
to.
enough.
Yeah, well, yeah, but like a little of both, isn't it? Like you can take it very seriously. No, no more murders.
The Metal Face podcast does not endorse the opinions or beliefs of Tom Davies.
We should put that at the end of it.
I think people can take metal too seriously.
Yeah.
This is a good example of when you shouldn't take it seriously, and you should just have a laugh and like, who fucking cares? Like, let the guy dress as the Pope with a skull face and play saxophone. Why not?
Yeah. I know. I think it's like how well they've done has put them under like a lot of scrutiny. But
They couldn't not be huge though, could they? Like,
yeah, for real.
So Josh, I want to know what you think about Ghost. I actually don't think I've ever talked to you about Ghost. So
Okay, well,
is this the controversial Linkin Park
really
discussion I was expecting? But it's on my choice.
Josh, wait, you had a ticket to see Ghost in Leeds. I remember because I tried to sell it.
that
for your
was more for the bands than it was to see Ghost.
money.
I
God.
like Square Hammer and
Square Hammer.
like maybe a few other songs, but I really can't get into them.
Yeah, no.
I don't want to start off the Ghost section being all negative, but like
That's alright.
I think it's like, you know, like this the Ghost spirit just hasn't hit me. You know, it's
hasn't
like,
happened
man,
yet.
That's it, man. It does just hit you, doesn't it? And then you're like, hey, if I've got Ghost, I've got everything.
Great, yeah.
Which is another
Tom,
great song.
Tom, tie him to his chair. We're going to put the album back on.
But yeah, I know it just like it doesn't do the things that I like in a metal album or metal music. Like, it's not, for me, it doesn't feel like kind of powerful and big enough.
Now,
I do know what you mean a little bit. It does feel a little bit restrained on this album in particular.
I've got to say, this album is probably my least favourite of their albums, which is weird because it also has, I think, most of the songs that most of their hits on. But like the album that came, I think, immediately after it, Prequel.
Yeah.
I think it has a much bigger sound. There's much more depth, much more bassy. They throw in all sorts of elements, and they really crescendo much more successfully. Sorry, that sounded such an innuendo. I crescendoed successfully. But on this album, it's definitely a sense of like slow burn to like a really strong bridge, really nice kind of fun sort of chorus. It kind of rockes along, but it is a little slow in places, I gotta say.
Yeah, I picked this album because it's got most of the hits that I like on it. I do think that Prequel is probably a better overall album, but I think some of their best tracks are on this album. Those being like Square Hammer and From the Pinnacle to the Pit. You know, like I fucking love those songs. And
if you look at the album and you go through from the top, the amount of good songs in here. Spirit, that's a hit.
Yeah.
Pinnacle to the Pit, Cerise,
Yeah.
He Is, Mummy Dust,
Mummy Dust.
Push, maybe a hit.
Mummy Dust.
Absolution, Deus in Absentia, Square Hammer, Nocturnal Me was like kind of that's quite a cool one. Missionary Man, people love that song.
Missionary Man's so
Bible, that's a fucking hit, And that's almost every song on the album is a hit in its own right. But I kind of have a theory about this, which is that they're a band that writes hits. And so if you want to listen to Ghost, you should listen to a playlist rather than like an album particularly. I mean, I do think that some of their other albums do stand up to like an album listen. But ultimately I think they're a fun time band. Maybe scrutinizing them as like an album, as like a sort of one piece, doesn't make that much sense.
No, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I get you.
Definitely, yeah, because I mean, I wonder if I would have such fond memories and love Ghost so much if I hadn't seen them live, because that live show was some of the funniest live music I've ever seen in my life. Like when Papa Nile broke onto the stage and started playing saxophone and then like collapsed, I was like in tears with laughter. It was just so fucking good.
So like, for the listeners, it's like they're playing away, they're sort of blasting away at this. It's like an interlude sort of song.
Miasma.
And all this smoke and like light comes up from the back of the stage, which is set up to look like a sort of American like mega church, like preacher sort
like
of
a cathedral
setup,
sort of,
right?
Yeah.
Big white steps, stained glass windows, that sort of thing. All this light and smoke comes out. And this guy dressed as the Pope, like an ancient sort of withered Pope, comes out of a saxophone and just fucking blasts away for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's just at the right point, like comedically.
Yeah.
But it'd just be like, and then as soon as he does it, he like collapses, and these like nuns like walk him off stage. It's just like they obviously Tobias Forge must have like, as I say, good comedic timing and a good sense of what's funny.
Yeah.
But they play it so straight all the time that, like, you can take it seriously as well and be really into it.
Definitely. Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
And I feel like I know he's the front man of the band. I know obviously the other members and that, like, he's very defensive of the project, and he seems like the kind of guy who's gonna try and make this last for like decades. And I kind of feel like he might be able to do it, because so far,
I kind of feel like I'm okay with them I'm kind of just okay with them just carrying on writing hit songs and some of it not being that good, but like ultimately getting some absolute bangers.
And like, if they're at a festival, I wouldn't want every band to be Ghost, but I'm very happy to go and see Ghost. It's kind of like, kind of like Evil Scarecrow, or like even like Ailstorm, like they're just so funny and great to see live that it's not exactly my taste, but I want to see it. It's going to be funny. It's going to be a great time.
And interestingly, like, I think they are easier to compare to bands like Wolf People or Florence and the Machine than they are to compare to bands like Slayer or Migler or something.
Yeah, I did actually.
Like, it's a world away.
Is that because they're actually a pop band?
Yeah, probably. I did make that comparison actually, like following on from last week. But I think last week I said Florence and the Machine have a very likable sound, and Ghost have that same thing where it's kind of hard not to enjoy it in some way.
There's nothing offensive about it in a way, apart from like the Satan element for some people.
If you're offended by that,
they've got that song, and I can't remember which song it is because they just have so many hits that I could just like not even be that picky about what I put on. But that song, like on Prequel, where he's like, "Don't you forget about dying. Don't you forget about your friend Death. Don't you forget that you will die too." It's like, it's like a fucking CBeebies kind of, if they were going to present a fucking metal band on like CBBC as like, ooh, here's the bad kid and he listens to scary rock music. You could just fucking
Ghost.
write a song like that.
Yeah.
So, side point, I think Finland has a like metal kids band.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. What, the one that's like all robots?
Yeah, their characters of some kind. It's like a costume or something. It's very cool.
Sick, man.
Maybe a future Metal Face podcast.
It's actually just Ghost. Yeah. So like, I can't help but like Ghost, but like, as I say, they're not an album-y kind of band.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would just say that even if you don't like, as we've sort of talked about, it's not. Is it really metal? It doesn't really matter. But like, if you were gonna go to a metal show, having not really seen any metal shows, you could go to this and just have fun. Like, it would just be funny.
Like, honestly, take away the image and take away the like lyrical content, and replace it with like what Florence and the Machine are all about. This is a completely different band, and they could play like fucking Glastonbury rather than Bloodstock.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, it appeals to metalheads because it like thematically it's metal.
Yeah.
It's interesting because my favorite bits were the theme and the image. Like, I wasn't that big a fan of all the music. Some of the tracks are really strong and really good. I really like them, but like as a whole, it was very much more. I love the concept of Ghost more than I like Ghost.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I would really recommend checking out Prequel because I think it has a much deeper sound, and you can hear like a lot more kind of bass in there, and they've got sort of organs and like saxophones and those like shaky things. What are the shaky, like tambourines?
This is a music podcast.
There's only 4 instruments, Ben. It's
You're
guitar,
right.
bass, drums,
You're
and
right.
atmospheric battle effects.
This has been established. The anvil.
Yeah. And also, they've got that EP, what is it, 7 Inches of Satanic Panic.
Oh, that's amazing.
And, that is really good. It's only 2 songs, Mary on a Cross and Kiss the Goat.
That's amazing.
Those are fucking great songs.
I do, even as a Ghost skeptic, really like
Ghost
Kiss
skeptic.
the Goat. Like, Kiss the Goat is a great song.
Yeah, and that's the thing about, that's the sort of confidence that I have in Tobias Forge, having released those 2 tracks. He's like not afraid just to do something that is just so ridiculous. Like the videos for that is like, I mean, I might be wrong, but I believe it's like Papa Emeritus in the past, like in the 60s or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like a flashback into Ghost's past, and he's like establishing this whole lore and storyline with it. I love it. I think it's hilarious.
It's so funny.
And I love the whole I said it earlier, like the whole like daddy Satan thing where they're just being so silly with it. But I think I like that because people sometimes are like, oh, it's all about like the devil, isn't it? And you're like, yeah, like listen to Ghost. Like it's so silly. There's like a love song to Satan. Like I think he is like you know, just
that's great, man. So Josh, did you have any favourite tracks on this album, man?
Yeah, no, I actually really liked it's interesting because I think for me the deluxe tracks really saved this album for me. Yeah. I wouldn't have liked it very much if it was just the main bits, but like I really loved Squarehammer.
Squammer.
And Missionary Man is great.
Missionary Man really caught me by surprise.
But also Absolution is like a really strong track. Like I think maybe I was being a bit harsh earlier. Like I think it's just as a whole, like I enjoy Ghost. I think I totally mean where it's like they're like a playlist kind of band for me, like where it's like I just put all those tracks like in a list and put them and do them. Yeah. But yeah, those are all like Squarehammer's right on the playlist already. So
yeah, man, absolutely.
How about you, Ben? What are your kind of feelings and favorite tracks?
I mean, there's just so many good tracks in this album, and I actually think that I got to disagree with Tom because I actually think this is a stronger album than Prequel, and maybe we'll have to do Prequel another time.
Yeah,
because it might be a factor that I'm just so much more familiar with this album. I mean, I could just play this thing from start to finish and love it. Even lesser known tracks like Mummy Dust are just so weird and great. I just love it.
Yeah,
I love the vibe. I love the sound effects. I love the ridiculous storyline he's got going on. I love it. That's great all round. If I'll pick one song though, and it's From the Pinnacle to the Pit, just because I love that fat bass line in that song. It's so good.
Yeah, that is good actually. That is very good.
So listening to this alongside Linkin Park this week, I wondered whether this will be the gateway band for some people growing up these days. Are people listening to Ghost and then getting into heavier stuff as a result? You know, in like
absolutely.
10 years, people are going to be be like, "Oh yeah, I got to Ghost, man,"
point.
but they're a bit cringe now. You know, like.
yeah. I thought I liked Satan, but now I'm actually I'm actually reborn Christian.
So Tom, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of easy to pick favorite tracks. Like, you know, Squarehammer, absolute sort of banger. It's the one that got me into Ghost in general.
Yeah.
Bible, I think, is a really great one. It's kind of like, it's like lesser known, but you still meet Ghost fans who are like, yeah, that's like their best song. And it's sort of like, all this stuff is out there for you just to go and listen to. And there's so much great stuff, but there's like there's still some competition in the scene about which are the really great Ghost tracks, because there's just so many.
So many of them,
yeah.
And He Is an excellent song.
And
Absolution as well. But like, let me just go through and say, Spirit, From the Pinnacle to the Pit, Cerise, He Is, Mummy Dust, Absolution, Deus in Absentia, Squarehammer, Nocturnally, Missionary Man, and Bible are all songs I fucking love.
Yeah. And actually, that list you just made, I pretty much exactly agree with.
Yeah.
Isn't that like nearly the whole album?
It's about
that is nearly the whole
80% of it, yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
So, I hope the spirit will visit me soon, because obviously I'm missing something.
Yeah, if you have ghosts, you have everything. And on that note, let's talk about our third and final album, Rammstein by Rammstein. Rammstein ist eine deutsche Industrial Metal Band, die vor ihrer riesigen und feuergefüllten Lebensshows, ihr expliziten deutschen Texte und ihre endlos kontroversen Videos und Bilder berühmt ist. Ihr Sound ist unglaublich musikalisch und mechanisch, mit riesigen, gefühlvollen Refrains und Elementen aus Tanz und Techno, was in der Metal-Scene sehr zugänglich und umstritten macht.
Ja.
Sie gibt es... I'm going to keep that up for.
Was that an original that you translated, or was it the Wikipedia page in German?
No, that was what I had translated. Alright, so, Rammstein are a German industrial metal band, known for their enormous fire-filmed live shows. They are German.
Wow.
Tom, you've already said all this.
Known for their explicit lyrics and their endlessly controversial videos and imagery. The sound is incredibly muscular and technical and mechanical.
Oh.
With hugely
It's incredibly muscular. Whoa.
with hugely soulful choruses and elements of dance and techno, making them a highly successful and hugely debated band in the metal scene. So they've actually been around since 1994 and never had a lineup change, which I think has contributed to the singularity and confidence of their creative vision.
That is incredibly impressive, I gotta say.
I'm
Because
very
there's a
impressed
few of
also.
those. There's a few of those lads.
Yeah, fucking hell. I've been a fan right since the start of getting into metal. Ichville was one of the songs that I listened to on my now internet famous paper round back when I was about 12 or 13. And this album is their 7th full-length release. Possibly named Rammstein, possibly unnamed. It wasn't clear anyway from reading.
Oh, I'm not sure either.
I know that Ben is a huge fan. I suspect that Josh is as well, as we travelled to see this band in Barcelona about 2 years ago. Guys, I'm just going to throw it open. Rammstein.
I mean, you know,
what is there left to say?
it's hard to follow, isn't it? Because like they're just such they need no introduction really. They're just such a huge band. They're so classic.
Yeah.
I even people who don't like metal love Rammstein.
Yeah, for
they're
sure.
just so they're so
Absolutely.
big.
Which is great because actually some of their lyrics, they really rival Necrofilth.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's true.
some of them are.
Yeah.
But luckily, I can't understand them, so I don't feel bad.
I'm right there with you, Josh.
Absolutely.
Lack of comprehension is key in metal.
But I think it is. But for me, like, really the best thing about Rammstein has been, you know, their like albums like Rash, where it's all led by the like heavy melodic guitar and the big soulful vocals. So I did find the kind of return to the more electronic albums a little bit challenging, but I really enjoyed them once I got used to them.
Yeah, this is I think like this album is just a progression of their sound. Like I think they were always going to become more and more kind of dancey and like techno kind of thing. They went from something that was very underground kind of electronic in the beginning, and I think now they're going for something that's a lot more kind of anthemic and stuff. But like you can't fault them.
I mean, they're playing stadium tours all the time these days. I know they've been doing that for a while, but this is the album for stadium tours. Like, these songs are made to be played in stadiums, and they've clearly done that intentionally.
And we saw them in Barcelona in a massive like football stadium.
Yeah,
it was pretty unbelievable, wasn't it? Like just Rammstein under that massive blue sky. Fucking hell.
I think when bands get this huge, they can try and write these ballads and things like that, and anthems, and they just completely fuck it up. But Rammstein have not done that like one bit. Like I absolutely fucking love this album, and they've taken their success and I think they've handled it really, really well. They self-reference a lot. They are quite often self-deprecating in like a very intelligent way and not overdoing it or becoming cringy or self-indulgent.
Yeah, for sure.
Videos like Deutschland, where I don't even know how to describe Deutschland. Just go watch the video. And I think we'll all agree that no one else could really get away with that video except for Rammstein.
Absolutely. I mean, they've got such a unique sound that even given their success, it's not like they've sold out and become like everyone else. Like they're still the only band that sounds like Rammstein, apart from Layback.
Apart from that one other band. Yeah, no, I know what you mean though. Like it's always very interesting when you find a big band, and I think Linkin Park and Ghost are probably in that category too. And also more broadly, bands like Tool, you know, where they have a really big sound and really identifiable sound, and they're huge, but no one's really managed to copy them.
Yeah,
absolutely. System of a Down, I think. Example,
also.
Really. And you sort of question why. Is like why can't other people pull off Rammstein's sound, which is all about the kind of driving, stomping, industrial guitars, those kind of weird like electronic elements, and then also Till Lindemann has just got an amazing voice, like metal or not, you know. And he goes from really soaring, kind of beautiful, like soulful choruses, all the way down to this, like, almost sounds like a kind of black metal, like crypt voice at points. Where he's like so dark and like strange.
No, it's really interesting. Like you say, I think Rammstein are very much, you know, more than the sum of their parts in that sense. Like Till is great. But if you just put him in like a metalcore band, for instance, you know, if you can't, like, who cares? But because he's with all these other guys and they all play off each other so well, I think it's really that's the magic ingredient, isn't it? Like it's all these elements working together in harmony that creates this such, you know, unique, memorable but impossible to copy music.
I think they are all equal parts in it as well.
Yeah,
like they're not. So with Ghost, it's the Tobias Forge show. Right?
Yeah.
With Rammstein, it's not the Till Lindemann show, even though he's a huge part of it. Obviously, vocals are always one of the most recognizable things about a band. But Flake's keyboard work, hugely recognizable.
There's just like generally a sense of like a sort of singular vision, you know. And this is partly comes back to when Rammstein first started making music before they released Herzeleid, their first album. They were all into metal, but they were just a bit like, this is all kind of like quite an American sound, and almost like, you know, with the MTV like hair metal, all that kind of thing. And then like grunge was huge in like the 90s and stuff. And they were like, we want to make a form of metal that's like purely German, you know?
And it really is, isn't it?
It has that pedigree of like techno, which is just like it's so machine-like and kind of computerized and stuff. It just seems to come out of the DNA of that country somehow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to stereotype, we definitely haven't done
But
that.
they all
so
wear
far,
lederhosen.
but they are. It's very German, isn't it? It's very, very German.
Well, something that I love about music in general is like how it can give you like a window into another culture, and like I always find it interesting. Like I've been to Germany like quite a few times, but probably in total not spent more than a month there. But like I feel more connected to it through the music that I listen to and stuff, and like listening to a band like Rammstein. Is like it's one of the brilliant things that music can do, which is kind of bring you into another culture.
Absolutely, it's kind of a window into another world, isn't it?
Yeah,
for
sure.
You don't just get the language, but you also get all the subtle music influences, but also on top of that you have all the kind of cultural and folklore and tacit things which if you write a song you probably write about in reference without even realizing, which come through from another culture.
I mean, on this album you get everything from a sort of Bauhausy kind of like like I say, very sort of industrial machine-like sort of sound, all the way to stuff that sounds almost quite folky.
Yeah.
And it's like it sounds like some sort of German folk song, like translated through some sort of like computerized machine.
And then importantly, you get the techno and the dance, which is something else which I think is quite associated with Germany.
It's such a weird combo, but somehow it all just comes together.
Absolutely,
It really is. I'm trying to actually make points when I'm discussing this album because it's very hard for me not to just say it's so good. I just really like it.
It's hard to sum it up in a sentence because anything you say about one part of the album won't be true of another part of the album, but it's still
a good fucking point.
Somehow coherent.
A song like Mein Teil, which is probably my favourite I don't know, that's a push. There's too many good songs. Mein Teil is one of my favourite Rammstein songs. It's one of their most kind of unhinged songs.
Yeah.
And when I heard Auslander, I thought, alright, they've kind of dropped a lot of that really nasty stuff that I used to kind of like about them. But then you got a song on there like Puppa, which is potentially one of their heaviest, darkest, and most ferocious songs they've ever written.
Yeah. And that's where they've really like stripped back a lot of the musical elements to it. And it's, like you say, it's just Till kind of losing his fucking mind on the track.
Just like absolutely shredding his vocal cords. Like that man's lung capacity. Fuck me.
Remember when they played that live in Barcelona and they wheel out that massive pram? And there's like a weird animatronic doll in it, and it just starts spraying, blacking out the sky with black confetti, and then the whole skyline just sets on fire. And oh my god,
that show was definitely one of the best live experiences I've probably had in any kind of music. And I didn't know that like that band had managed to create such an over-the-top show as kind of a process. It's just so fascinating.
Genuinely like an incredible live show. I mean,
everyone should see them. Everyone on the planet.
I woke up this morning and found out the Mystic Festival was cancelled. I was gutted. By the end of the day, I have a Rammstein ticket for Cardiff next year. So, you win some, you lose some. But I'm really excited to see them again. I think their live show has got to be genuinely the best live show I've ever seen. I've seen them 4 times.
They are just ridiculous. I've seen them twice in the space of like a year and a half, and the shows were totally different. I don't even know how they put together like a whole new show in that time. But
no, absolutely.
Seeing this album, which I think was obviously written for those kind of stadium shows live, was just insane. Remember that like 10-minute like dance track they had where they were wearing like the LED stickman outfits and just like throwing shapes.
And when they put that dinghy onto the crowd and like sailed over to like that island in the middle of the crowd for Auslander, that was incredible. I mean, I remember seeing them at Sonosphere one year. Starts with this black curtain and they're building up to the song Rammstein, right? The song Rammstein, but the band Rammstein. And then as soon as they hit that first like bang, the curtain comes down. And behind it, there's the whole stage is covered by another curtain, which is like the German flag. And it's just there going, Rammstein! While this flag's like blowing in the wind and everything. And it builds up to that kind of drum fill. There's another bang of like fireworks. The curtain drops, and the whole band are on stage just like playing and stuff. Just like headbanging and everything. And then there's a shower of sparks from the top of the stage until Lindemann is lowered down onto the stage on this like platform shooting out sparks. He's wearing like black lederhosen, pink feather coat, and in his mouth he has a light so that when he sings, a beam of light shoots out of his mouth. Like this band, fuck me, my god,
theatrics on another level, but
they're really, really fucking good live. Ben, I understand this was one of your most listened to albums last year. you want to maybe take us through why?
Yeah, it's just so like the perfect mix of those things we've said, the dark side of like Rammstein and then the really upbeat dancey side of it, where it's just so easy to put on. And like Auslander is such an anthem, and obviously I don't speak German, but it's so easy to just be like, singing along to it. And then like, all the lyrics are like, meine Sprache international. It's just so good.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good, isn't it?
But then you have a song like Puppy, which follows it up with just some horrible, dark, classic Rammstein, where I think, and this is the thing that I was sort of saying earlier, is that they've taken their success, but I don't feel like they've sold out. I feel like they have stayed true.
Compromised at all, yeah.
And they've taken that success in. Yeah, they haven't ignored it. They haven't just made the same thing. They've managed to do that magical thing, which a lot of bands don't manage to do, which is to stay successful and stay relevant for decades.
Yeah, they're hitting everything on this album.
And they haven't stopped having really, really gross lyrics, because like Hello Man is really gross.
Oh, really? What are the lyrics?
I mean, I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's about being a paedophile. So.
Oh. Ah, yes. Okay.
Yeah, that's Rammstein. That's classic Rammstein.
Well, a lot of their songs are about sort of sex and lust and like sort of the darker side of things.
And also, but also writing it in a way where it's not actually like, it's not as though the first line of a song is, this song is about being a paedophile. Like, it's written in a way that is a bit more metaphorical than that, and that's just one interpretation of it, Because, like, Mein Teil is... there's interpretation of that song, like, we're not going to sit here and argue lyrics, but it's not as straightforward as just being like, it is what it is,
Isn't that song about the cannibal who put, like, German cannibal who put an ad in the newspaper and somebody volunteered to be eaten, and they cut off his dick first, his tile. After that, he played his part by becoming this guy's, like, dinner for a few weeks or whatever. It's dark stuff in there. Ben, you look like you're in Fort.
I am.
What's up?
I can. So while we've just been talking, I've bought my ticket to see Rammstein in Cardiff next year.
Oh, fantastic.
Nice. Just talking about that show, you sent me the link earlier and I was like, I'll get round to it. I'm not missing it. I just bought my ticket. I'm sorry if it's affected the quality of the show, but it's worth it.
Just absolutely. What is Ben doing? Is he reading his notes? Like, he's reading his notes but not saying anything?
I've literally been trying to get this website to work, like, while we've been talking, because as soon as we started reminiscing about the show, I was just like, oh, fuck, I don't care how much it is, I've got to go. So now that I've got my ticket to see him next year, Tom, what would you say were your favourite tracks from the album, and looking forward to seeing live next year?
Favourite tracks? I mean, Deutschland has got to be way up there. Like, I prefer it to I prefer it to Radio, even though that's a good song. It's not one of my favourites. Zeig Dich is just like, it just breaks into the album in such a successful way. It's like exactly what I like about this band.
Yeah.
Auslander, I don't know what it's almost kind of an unexpected favourite for me, but I do absolutely love it.
Yeah.
The song Sex is just Rammstein doing their fucking thing, Papa is so fucking ferocious, it's gotta be one of my favourites. Was ich liebe is, I think, a brilliant anthemic, soulful, kind of beautiful song. Diamond, they kind of slow it down. Weitberg is kind of like, it's like a slower one, but there's still some kind of drums and like heaviness in there. Tattoo, I feel, is kind of underrated. I actually love that song. Go back to it really like quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then Hello Man is kind of just, it's quite a dark one closing out the album, but it's, as I say, this album is just Rammstein doing their fucking thing and doing it really, really well. So that's some of my favourite tracks, all 11 of them.
So all of them, yeah.
Yeah, all 11. Nice. Good stuff.
I think, gun to my head, though, I'd say... I think if I...
What track would you pick twice? What's your double favourite?
If I had to pick a track or two tracks, I'd say Deutschland.
No, pick one. I'm going to push you. Pick one. Because you can't name them all, and then pick two.
It's Deutschland. Deutschland's the best. Deutschland.
Yeah.
It's strong fucking amazing. The song that I'm really looking forward to seeing live is Pussy. I just think that's such a great live song.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the words. It's fucking hilarious. It's, it's quite a sexy song. And the
what is it exactly about the live performance of that show that makes you feel sexy, Tom?
Towards the end, there's a bit generally where Till Lindemann gets up behind a large phallus-shaped, shall we say? Well, I think that's pretty accurate.
Is that what that
phallus-shaped cannon, which goes back and forth across the stage, spraying foam over the crowd, which is just like...
Oh my god.
It's a fantastic thing to see live. It's fucking... Oh, it's brilliant. Like, I love that level of, what would you say? That level...
Decadence.
That level of decadent degeneracy. Fantastic.
They kind of warm you up throughout the whole show to the point where you're just like,
yeah, I'm ready.
We're ready for the penis cannon.
What about you, Josh? What were your favourite tracks?
Rammstein are a bit like Ghost to me in the sense that like I don't necessarily have an album or listen to albums of them. I put the hits in a playlist, and that's probably sacrilege. But for me, this was very much the same thing where there were songs I really liked, and all of it was really good, but there were definitely a few which were going to be in the playlist. And for me, those were, I think, Auslander and Puppe. Puppe?
Puppe.
The dog. The one about the dog.
It's a puppet, isn't it? Is it a dog?
I thought it was a dog.
I think it means puppet, yeah.
I thought it was like a doll.
Doll. It means doll.
There you
Alright, not the one about the dog. The one about the doll. I'm totally full of shit. That shows how good my German is. But yeah, that song. And I don't know, there are lots of tracks I like as well, like Diamant.
Yeah.
Was strong, and like Radio, and there's lots of great things, but my absolute favourites were those two. Just because, like, I don't know, I feel like I could listen to them over and over. They're very catchy. They're quite Papa is not quite so catchy in the same sense, but it's definitely like, well, I don't know,
Very
it's definitely
original
got that kind of hook, hasn't it? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I love that song, yeah.
It hooks me at least, and I remember seeing it live and thinking it was great. So that's maybe colouring my opinion a bit as well.
That's fine, yeah. But what about you, Ben?
Yeah, for me, oh my god.
Because this was one of your most listened to albums last year or something like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think out of my top 10 tracks, 3 of them were from this album, and
Damn.
yeah, I mean, if there was going to be an album, it would probably be this one.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. They've got tracks for everything. If I had to pick, just because of seeing it live, I would pick Poppy, because it was just...
So
oh my god, I couldn't believe they actually did it. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
They keep you guessing, man, don't they?
yeah. It reminds me of the first time I saw them, actually. Till came out in a butcher's coat, like a big fat suit with a butcher's coat covered in blood.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got the knife for the microphone, and he's walking around the stage singing. And at the end of a song, he rips open his jacket, and like a bomb vest of fireworks just goes off, like
Yeah,
boom,
I've seen
boom,
that.
boom, boom, like across his chest.
Oh, man.
All the lights go out,
Yeah.
and we all just kind of like looked at each other like, what the fuck just happened? And then, like, obviously, the next song immediately like kicks straight in, and you don't even have time to recover. Like, incredible.
Yeah, oh, mate. And hey, we didn't know this when we woke up this morning. Me and you, Ben, and maybe Josh, if he gets his act together, we're going to go see them next year.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna leave you in suspense.
Bloody wunderbar.
Just bloody wunderbar.
It's bloody wunderbar, mate.
Okay, so that was episode 11 of the Metal Face podcast. We talked about Linkin Park's album Hybrid Theory. We covered Ghost's album Meliora, Deluxe Edition.
Ooh.
And we finished off with Rammstein's album, Rammstein, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Easy to remember.
Yeah, we think. Wow, okay, so that's the last set of albums we're going to cover in the first
Bloody
season. I'm doing air quotes right now. Season of Metal Face.
Yeah. And we're going to take, what are we going to take, 3-4 weeks off?
Couple of weeks, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to take a little
to
bit of
recover
time
from all the
off.
hard work we've put in.
This has been an effort.
Listening to music we like.
It's
Ugh.
hard.
It's really hard.
It's tough. Yeah, we need to take those couple of weeks off to find new music. I think we've exhausted. We don't know any more music.
This is
That was
all
it.
the
Yeah, I'm
albums that
out.
we know. Between us,
We've
we
run
know
out.
33 albums. Not bad, though.
This is
33. You know, we've been
Yeah.
we've been recording this since February. It's
Oh, wow.
it's coming
Yeah.
up to May now.
A lot of music, man.
Before next season, what are we doing next week, Tom? Because we're still going to have an episode.
We are still
Right.
going to have an episode. I think what we're going to do is drink some beers and just talk about the wide world of metal and all the things we're looking forward to seeing and doing after the fucking pandemic is over,
Yeah.
and all the things that we've seen and done in the past, and some things we are seeing and doing right now.
Ooh.
I think also, aren't we going to be reflecting a bit on the...
Oh, yeah.
Looking back
Oh,
on
yeah.
the Metal Face
Yeah, I think we could do a kind of like
Maybe
legacy.
some
best albums,
self-reflection.
worst albums sort of thing, maybe. That'd be fun, yeah. All right, brilliant. Well, so what albums are we... Oh, wait a minute, we're not!
Yeah. Oh,
No album!
Oh my god!
Ha!
wait, are you saying that the close of the show is going to be even more unstructured and shambolic than it normally is?
I think
My
you might
God.
be right. Well, yeah, I'll see you guys next week to talk even more bollocks than usual.
Yeah.
We'll do
We'll
our
see
best.
how this one goes.
All right,
Wonderful.
take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thanks for listening,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Fucking hell.
You always have to get the last buy-in, don't you?
That was the Metal Face Podcast. Go follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for Season and Mist, Carrick Anger and Separation for their music in the intro, and thank you to Johnny Peterson for transition music throughout. Go check out his projects at Heads for the Dead, Massacre, Wormvale and Wombat. And most importantly, thank you for listening, take it easy, and hail Satan. Where's Josh gone? Due to lack of interest, Josh Redmond has been cancelled.
Ow.